Her current work looks at how AI makes histories and how histories might be made in the future, which are efficient, safe and ethical. Very important work. Her writing has been translated into 5 languages and sold over 26,000 copies of her books, and her theories are taught across the world. In 2008, she was named the Prime Minister's University Teacher of the Year. Now, that's not it, there's more. In 2022, she was made an Officer of the Order of Australia for her contribution to higher education governance, leadership and mentoring. Now, Marnie is also an avid hiker, and I love seeing her beautiful snaps from her treks on LinkedIn, so check them out. Today, Marnie will be speaking with you about AI as the future of the past. She'll take you on a journey on how we can all become historians in an AI age to work for a safer and fairer future. Please give a warm welcome to distinguished Professor Marnie Hughes-Warrington AO.
Marnie. Marnie Hughes-Warrington. When I came to Adelaide, I said to Uncle Lewis, I keep hearing my name. Marnie, and he goes, country was calling you. How generous that welcome is, and it wouldn't have been nice if we always reciprocated the welcome that we're given to this beautiful place. So I want to acknowledge Rebecca, just power to you in your speech, and the incredible privilege we have to be here today. So, every second around the world, in every place, histories are being made. They're not made by historians. They're not made by you or me. They're made by machines. Think about it. What movie do you want to watch? What book do you want to buy? Should you get the best rate of health insurance? Are you the first person to be seen in an emergency department? Will you be given justice? We all think that AI is about the future, and it is, but it's built on the past. It's built on data that comes from your history, my history, and our history. Where do you think it gets the idea of how to recommend things to you? History is AI. So when we think about AI, by all means think about the future, but I want you to think about it as a historian too, making history everywhere around the world, every moment. Girls and women have the right to have their history told. Woo! They have the right to know what those histories are. When I go and buy drugs from the pharmacy, I want to know that the data that was built on included women. I want to know that. So women have the right to history. Women and girls have the right to equal history. There are deep data lakes across this world, and there are places where there is no data. And some of that data is around women who've been incarcerated, enslaved, traded. It's not good data, but that's the data. Women have the right, and girls have the right to equal history. And we also have the right to empower history, and for us to be empowered by history. And why is that? Because history casts such a long shadow over our world. Think about it. History explains why some people have no living relatives. History explains why some people live far away from their families, why some people's families don't speak the language, but they used to, that they don't know who their parents are. And history, sadly, all too often explains violence. It explains the violence. So why is it so invisible to us that AI is about our history. I think it's one of those things, it's a story that could be told across probably every living room and every house across Australia and the world. My dad wanted me to be a computer scientist. When I was little, he bought a Texas Instruments 90 computer.
Oh.
I know.
Oh,
That's so sweet, isn't it?
Sweet, yeah.
And he brought it home and he said, my daughter's going to be a computer scientist.
That's lovely.
He took me into work and he said, you know, people can be computers as well as machines. And I said, cool. And he sat me down in front of the computer and he said, there it is. And within 2 minutes, my brothers discovered that it played Space Invaders. And I sat and watched them playing Space Invaders and I turned to my dad and said, Dad, why are the aliens looking out at me when my brothers are shooting up at them? That's not very smart. They should be looking down at the weapons that my brothers are firing at them. But they're looking at me, and my dad's going, just play the game. And I'm going, no. He should have figured out at that point that I was going to be a philosopher. He got plenty of hints along the way. I'm like so many people that decided not to go into computer science because gaming is seen as something that some people do and not others. Although I know lots of women are now playing games. It's great. It's really, really good. But at the time, it wasn't like that. And he said, right, I'll get you to learn BASIC. So I started typing BASIC, and after about 3 days of effort and putting it on a cassette tape and then playing it back, I made a red square. And I went, no, this is not happening. Because I don't know why I'm doing it and I don't understand what the point of the red square is. And my dad's going, it's a great red square. And I'm going, why? Again, he had plenty of hints. So I wandered through my schooling, only slightly ever touching this topic, and discovered a love of history. When I got to uni, I didn't know what I want to do, and I am the first in my family to get a university degree. How fortunate that is in this country. I was lucky my parents read to me every night.
Wow.
My grandfather used to ride along on his bike and collect books out of skips.
Ooh.
And he gave them to me. The first big book I remember reading was The Child's Book of Curiosity. It was 12 volumes. It was an encyclopedia from 1932. And I read it at the age of 6 and turned up at school and just had pity on the teacher that had me in their classroom, because she said, right, okay, here's Dick and Jane. And I read Dick and Jane. I went through all of them and I read them really quickly. She'd read them again. And I said, I already read them. I know what Dick's doing. I know what Jane's doing. It's pretty clear. There's an aeroplane in the sky and there's a dog. Okay? Read it again, she said. I said, I'm going to bring my own books in. So I did. I brought my own book in. Unusual cheer, she said. The Child's Book of Wonder from 1932. That was what I had at home because of my grandfather. Because he was generous. He picked those books up, he strapped them on the back of his bike with an hockey strap, and he brought them back for me. I still have them. I love my grandfather for that gift and that generosity. And I'll tell you what, the difference between me and somebody else who doesn't get a higher education chance is as thin as the pieces of paper in those books. That's what it is. So I got that chance. I turned up to uni. I didn't know what I wanted to do. They said, what do you like doing? And I said, I like arguing. Philosophy, they said. I turned up to my first tutorial. The tutor said, I'm not sure if you're real, but I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. I fell in love with the subject from that very night. And I have pursued it ever since. And after that point, I graduated, the first in my family to do so. I went to an interview for a scholarship. And they said, what are you going to do if you get the scholarship? And I said, I'm going to stand up for history. And I'm going to stand up for education. and I'm going to stand up for the right for everyone around the world to have those things. At that time, I thought at the age of 21 that standing up means standing up and vocalising, letting your voice be heard, speaking up when things are not right. That's what you do when you're 21. That's what I did. I won that Rhodes Scholarship and I went to Oxford, the first in my family to get an education. I thought standing up was that. I now realise that standing up is pulling the seat back at the table and getting somebody else to sit at it. That's what it is, to stand up and to be a leader. And I stand up for education because I know it is the thing that makes the single biggest difference to the lives of people around the world. And I know Rotary does that because I have met so many students that have benefited from what you have done. And they have come to our door and their lives have been changed already by you because of what you do. I stand up for that. And I stand up for history. And I don't think I really need to say why, if you look at the world right now. I've had so many questions about the 1930s in the last couple of weeks. And to be clear, the 1930s, there was a depression. There were a lack of financial controls. And democracy was fragile. And it is now too. But it is something that we can do something about, every single one of us. We can be the recipients of politics and technologies. We can receive those things. I love the poem. I hope it was Chatty G that made that poem. We can receive that. If you go into GPT or other these tools, you ask them to draw an historian. It will be a man wearing a tweed jacket, wearing glasses.
And a beard.
If you go in and say, I notice it's a man, it'll draw a picture of a woman wearing glasses and she has a typewriter on the side.
Oh,
it's pretty
no.
fit. If you say, I notice that she's a woman historian, but could she be a historian of women? She comes back again and she's got suffragette posters in the background and the curtains are pink.
Oh.
Rocket on, sisters. It's awesome. You and I notice these things every single day and we can do something about it. What can you do about it? You can make sure that people know that their data goes into AI. You can remind them, for instance, that Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander data is sovereign. Don't put it in. You can be careful about what you do with your photographs. You can insist that we make sure that our collections in our libraries and galleries are not sold overseas, so that when you want to do your family history, that you can do it for free.
Oh, wow.
You can do that. But most of all, as a consumer, you can insist that the AI tools that we have, that they speak your story fairly, that they're equal, and that they empower, they don't disempower, they don't distress, and they don't cause violence. That's within your hands, every day, every time. You check your phone, you do those things. You are making history. No burden on you, but if you're going to make history, make it good, make it positive. Amplify the stories of the people around you, the women, the girls. Stand up for the right of women and girls everywhere for their stories to be told. Thank you.